Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. Sometimes a project starts in one place and goes completely to another. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. It was supposed to be a simple little swap and it turned into a whole troubleshooting mess. Let me know what you think. A lot of folks have been pushing me to actually get this Honda TRX250 in a state of running properly before I move on to the next project. So let's spend another few minutes on it. I went through the trouble of ordering the correct handlebar switch, and it's got all the right buttons in the right places. It's even got the right connectors on it, but the wires are too short. So that's one thing we're going to get to deal with. I also bought the proper key switch, and see how this one has one little indent there? The key switch I bought has two, though once again it has the right connectors on it. I'm not sure if those wires are too short. So before you even get started with any of this stuff, do yourself a favor, make yourself some space. It's hard to run wires through all this mess the way it is, and with no space it's about impossible. First of all, they already broke the rack well enough where I can swing that out of the way. They already got the headlight out. They broke the brake, so I'm not like contaminating the system by taking this hose out of the bundle. I already took, there were a couple of blocks in here that the headlight used to suspend the headlight, so I got those out of there, right? I already loosened those up. So you got to make yourself some space. I also suggest if you pull the Honda thing off, don't break it. These are hard to find, the word Honda on this little snap-in. If you pry that out, then there's a pair of Phillips heads, so you could get the dashboard out of the way. They have nothing but the Phillips head holding the dashboard, right? The wiring isn't in there. So if you get that out of the way, then you could loosen up the handlebars and be able to move things, give yourself some flexibility. I mentioned the wires are too short. Given that, now I have to figure out exactly how I want to cut and splice them and all that, right? You kind of want to do things permanently, right? You don't want to splice a set of wires that are then going to cause a short that is going to cause you trouble in the future troubleshooting, or, you know, no one lives forever, so the future owner troubleshooting problems. So anyway, let me clean this up and then we'll go forward. So I got to this connection, and sure enough, I got no power here on either sides of that. Then I go over to here. Turns out I am getting power from the battery, and it's going through this block, and then it goes into the wire harness and gets lost. At this point, you have one of two choices. You could take apart a 38-year-old wire harness and start looking for the brake, or you could run a jumper. In my case, I'm going to do the jumper thing. A lot of people just don't like to do that. I'm not in love with the idea of doing it, but I am. So if you put the red jumper from the power, that pure black wire is power, right? And the center wire, the black wire with the red stripe, which goes into the black wire, which goes into the red wire with the black stripe up to the switch. So if you turn the power on, check it out. Right? So there you are. You even heard it wanted to start. So now that I got this all figured out, I just want to wire this up in such a way that it doesn't look like a booger festival. Probably what I'm going to do is put this on the other side of the jack, so this could be unplugged, that could be unplugged, and the two bayonet bullet connectors could be unplugged, and this whole thing could come loose. So that's the way I'm going to wire it. If you pay attention to what you're doing, you can make it so that it doesn't look that bad. I have to put this harness back together again, and notice this is hot and that's ground right beneath it, so I got to make sure that I get a little tape onto that green ground wire, and I get a little tape onto this, because the last thing you want to do is have those short together. Notice I say a little bit of tape. Once again, you don't want it to look like a boa constrictor eating an elephant. It's bad enough it looks like a boa constrictor eating a mouse. So this thing started out as a no crank. It would run once it was started, but it wouldn't crank. The starter wouldn't engage. So we hot wired the starter and discovered the starter was still good. We bypassed the interlock switch. Now it's been replaced, and tried this, and we weren't getting power to the starting solenoid. So we replaced the switch, and it turns out the switch did not need replacement. We still weren't getting power to the starting solenoid. Once we started to poke around the back of the switch and so forth, we discovered that there was no power coming into the switch. Remember, power starts at the battery, goes to the key switch. It was coming out of the key switch. We saw that it was going into the wire harness, but it wasn't coming out of the wire harness, coming up here and powering this up. We ended up putting in a little bypass here, right? And remember, we wired this in such that the splices were staggered, and you could see this cable really looks about like it should, right? And I have the plastic piping over the wires. Anyway, at this point, the choke's been hooked up. I even oiled up the cable. Right, we got the jump pack on it. And let me turn it on, and quite honestly, if you turn it, oh, let's turn the key on. If you hit the button, right, she'll probably, with a little starting fluid, start right up, and I'll show you that. Okay, let's go through a starting sequence. First, starting fluid. Turn it on. That's on, and there we go. Not hard to troubleshoot. Next up, by the way, I want to do something with the dashboard lights. And the dashboard, at this point, if I smash a battery into it and a seat, it's all ready to ride. It's ready to get out there. So next time you see this, probably what I'll do is I'll work on the exhaust system. If I go rip-roaring that around the property, I'm going to get some more complaints from the neighbors, and one doesn't need that. A lot of times when you're working on one of these, you learn more when they don't fix that easy. And as you're going through life, you realize it's all about learning. That's really the only constant. So please do go get yourself an all-terrain vehicle. Doesn't matter if it was made in China or here in America or in Japan, though Honda's the best. Get yourself an all-terrain vehicle, even if it's a decrepit mess, and start fixing it. Very rewarding. Anyway, I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember, feet down, heads up, and get out and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.